We know Japan because of anime, mangas, their culture, and folklore. But there's another side of Japan many people don't know: video games. Japan is also famous for their gaming industry. But that industry hides a game that is so controversial that it got banned in many countries. I am talking about Battle Rapper. Yes, you heard it right, and it literally stands for its name. Before we can understand Battle Rapper, we need to understand the company behind it. The story of Illusion. The game is made by a company called Illusion. It's based in Yokohama, Japan. Founded as a brand in 1992 under Hard Electronics Industry Co. Limited, and later restructured as I1 Co. Limited in 1996, which inherited the Illusion name. Illusion made 3D eroge. Now, eroge is a word you need to know to understand this whole story. It literally means erotic plus game. Japan has an entire category of adult PC games called eroge. This genre has existed since the early 1980s. Most eroge are visual novel style, meaning you read text, you make choices, and adult scenes play out. Think of them as interactive adult novels. But Illusion was not interested in that. Illusion had gone one level above and made adult games. Games with actual three-dimensional characters, real-time rendering, actual gameplay mechanics, and they built adult content directly into those mechanics. Their catalog includes the Biko series, the Des Blood series, Sexy Beach, and of course, Battle. And several years after Battle, another controversial game called Blade. Illusion had one firm rule that their games were made for Japan and Japan only. They sold exclusively in Japan. Official support existed only in Japanese, and rest of the world was not their concern. For years, that position held. The internet, however, had other plans. When Illusion's games eventually leaked beyond Japan's borders, the reaction was immediate and enormous. But that comes later. First, let us talk about what they actually made. Battle 2002. On April 19, 2002, Illusion released a PC game for the Japanese domestic market. It's called Battle on paper, and I mean purely on paper. Battle Rapper is a 3D fighting game. You pick a character, you enter an arena, you fight opponents one by one, you work toward a final boss. This description alone suggests that it's just like Tekken, Mortal Kombat, or Dead or Alive, a normal fighting game. But what Illusion put inside that game was not normal, and made this game one of the most notorious titles in gaming history. Battle Rapper has 5 fighters, including 1 male and 4 female. The male character is Xenon. He is the final boss and the only man in the entire game, and everything is built around him. 4 women fight their way toward him, and when they reach him, he fights back. What happens when you lose to Xenon? What happens when any of the female characters lose any fight in this game is the main mechanic of the game. Because the game was never translated or localized, it remained Japanese only and inaccessible to most Western players. The full depth of each character's individual story is difficult to verify in detail. What is confirmed is that each woman has her own story and reasons to reach Xenon. The game is story-driven enough that reviewers who played it believed the stories had genuine depth only if you could read Japanese. The 4 female fighters are Mai Kisaragi, Suzume Hachisuka, Fa Tao-lei, and Chihaya Kagami. Mai Kisaragi is like a cute anime girl who wears thigh-high red stockings, robes, and a one-piece red bathing suit. Suzume Hachisuka is an sports girl who wears stockings where Battle Rapper is written boldly. Then there's Fa Tao-lei, who have white hairs and wears red leather suit. And at last, Chihaya Kagami, who wears an school outfit. Now, let's talk about the controversial gameplay mechanics. The fighting mechanics in Battle Rapper are straightforward. It's just like other fighting games, but the special moves, including grapple attacks, are explicitly sexualized. And then there is the damage system. As the female fighters take damage during a fight, like every hit or knockback, their clothing progressively tears. To watch someone lose a fight in Battle Rapper is to watch her clothing disappear piece by piece. When a female fighter loses the fight entirely, that is the moment Battle Rapper becomes something else. The fighting game ends and a hentai journey starts. The content that follows is sexual in nature and is directly interactive. The game presents sexual violence against the defeated woman, and the player controls it. That is the reward system. This is the prize of winning the game. Don't think that this is just a cutscene that you will watch passively. You can play this scene with your own hands. The game hands you the controls and puts a defeated woman in front of you. Beyond story mode and the standard multiplayer, Battle Rapper features what it calls the extra mode, and the extra mode removes even the pretense of the fighting game framework. In the extra mode, the player can freely molest any of the game's female fighters without any gameplay requirement at all. Extra mode also features unlockable content. Critics and players who encountered the game argued that the fighting mechanics served primarily as a framework for the sexual content rather than as a genuine competitive experience. I mean, of course, it's an hentai game after all. But after a few years, Illusion returned to the franchise with a sequel, Battle 2, 2005. 3 years after the original, on April 22, 2005, Illusion released the sequel, Battle 2, the game. Here is the main thing, and it is genuinely strange to say out loud, but Illusion removed the forced rape from Battle Raper 2. The sexual violence mechanic that defined the original game was gone. Battle Raper 2 still has sexual content involving the female characters. It is still a game built around women losing their clothing in combat. The sex did not go away, but the forced violence was gone. The game is still called Battle 2. The 2 add-ons released for it are called Sexy Raper, that allows the player to take pictures of all the female characters in poses with different outfits and backgrounds, and Cap Raper that adds 3 additional characters from previous Illusion titles. The characters are Mayu Huzakawa from Biko 3, Bile Alterus, and Esk Anderson from Deathblood 4. They cannot be used in the story mode. Now this is important. Battle 2 has absolutely no connection to the original game. It's fully a different world, different characters, and different story. The only thread between them is the developer. The world of Battle Raper 2 is set on an unnamed island in the year 2000, a vague near future that feels more like dark fantasy than science fiction. There are ancient artifacts with supernatural powers. There are rival factions competing for dominance, and at the center of it all is a force of extraordinary power, something that promises to reshape reality itself, called the Divine Element, the symbol element of the power of God. Multiple groups want it, and they are willing to fight and kill for it. The player character this time is Yuki Kukami. He is a young swordsman, described as a treasure hunter, and he is the only male character in the game. Yuki carries a standard sword, but also wears a gauntlet on his arm called the Soul Eater, which augments his combat ability significantly. His element in the game's magic system is Dark Flame. Yuki also has a companion in this game called Eliza, who is a Batwing girl and can shapeshift to become his sword. Yuki arrives on the island searching for the Divine Element. He is immediately attacked by one of the island's native monsters, and then he encounters the 3 factions, and everything becomes considerably more complicated. The world of Battle Raper 2 is divided among 3 competing groups. Each one has sent its members to the island to find the Divine Element before anyone else can. The first faction is Eisenkreuz that send 2 fighters named Yayoi Mibu and Alferis. Yayoi Mibu has black hair and carries a weapon called the Holy Dragon Blade. She is hot-tempered, aggressive, and quick to let her sword do the talking in any situation. Alferis is Yayoi's superior in the Eisenkreuz Guild. She is a blonde and strong girl. She carries a Zubra. She fights only as a last resort, and her element is thunder. The second faction is the Arcana clan, a group that specializes in finding and studying ancient artifacts. They did not send soldiers to this island. They sent researchers who also happen to be deadly fighters. The 2 members of the Arcana clan on the island are sisters, Yura and Sarah Kamishiro. Yura Kamishiro has bright orange hair and fights with a pair of eagle claws. She also carries a fire artifact that gives her the element of flame. Sarah Kamishiro wields a dread scythe in combat, and her element is Vorpal. She is also the one who plans everything. The third faction is the Osei clan. They send only 1 representative to the island, but that representative is arguably the most significant character in the entire game. Setsuna Yagami have purple hair. She is the ninja of the Osei clan, armed with a paired set of daggers called the Sun and Moon daggers. She fights with both simultaneously, using the contrasting elements of light and darkness at the same time. It's a rare ability that makes her exceptionally dangerous. Setsuna became significant enough as a Battle Raper 2 character that Illusion later featured her in another game entirely, called Sexy Beach Zero. Beyond the human fighters, the island itself has defenders. The Shiki are undead creatures that roam the island with one purpose: to preserve it. They spit acid and engage in direct physical combat. In story mode, Yuki arrives on the island and immediately encounters his first Shiki attack. He survives. He then makes contact with all 3 factions. The player then makes a choice: which of the female characters will accompany Yuki on his journey across the island. This choice is significant because Battle Raper 2's story is structured around that companion relationship. Whoever you choose travels with Yuki, fights alongside him, and is at the center of the game's emotional arc. After completing the game, you can lie with the female companion and have adult-type fun with her. This game does not feature rape, but the way you heal other characters by rubbing is just lean into forced sexual content. Some critics argued that the healing mechanics still carried uncomfortable implications despite the removal of forced content. The controls of Battle Raper 2 was better than the first game. First game controls were not great, like poor movement mechanic and awkward layout. The aftermath. Here is something crucial to understand about the controversy timeline. The West did not know about Battle Raper in 2002. When it was released, it existed entirely within the Japanese domestic market. The niche adult game shops, the sealed packaging, the age-restricted sales. To the wider world, it did not exist. It took years. The internet moved slowly enough in 2002 that a Japan-only PC game could remain invisible to most of the English-speaking world for quite a long time. But eventually, players found out about this game, and then the reaction came. The Washington Post included it on their list of the 15 most morally controversial video games in history. These were not gaming-specific sites. The Washington Post is one of the most respected newspapers in the world. BattleRaper had crossed from niche gaming controversy into mainstream cultural conversation. When Twitch eventually compiled its list of games prohibited from streaming on the platform, it included BattleRaper. It became one of very few games in history to be explicitly and permanently banned from the world's largest game streaming service. Illusion also responded, and let me explain this in simple words. Our games are legal in Japan, we sell them in Japan, and what the rest of the world thinks about them is not our problem. This position was not technically wrong in the early 2000s. Japan's laws around adult content in games occupied a complicated gray area. The Ethics Organization of Computer Software, the EOCS, the independent Japanese ratings body for adult games, existed, but its reach was limited. Battle and other Illusion games were specifically credited as contributing factors to the EOCS taking in stronger action. The international outcry caused by Battle and later by Replay, another Illusion's 2006 game that generated even larger global protests, eventually pressured the EOCS into action. In 2009, the EOCS announced a formal ban on the sale and production of games simulating sexual violence against women. The country that made these games eventually made them illegal. BattleRaper was one of the reasons why. Amazon removed Play from all its websites in February 2009 after the global protests. On August 18, 2023, Illusion officially discontinued its brand. After more than 3 decades of making controversial adult games, i1 Co. Limited ended the Illusion name. The company later rebranded as IL Games, pivoting toward broader international distribution, a remarkable reversal from their original position of strict domestic-only sales and Japanese-only support. The company that once insisted its games were only for Japan ultimately restructured around reaching the global market it had spent decades ignoring. BattleRaper remains one of the most documented controversies in gaming history. Not only did it succeed commercially and receive a sequel, but it also contributed to real regulatory change. Whether that legacy is enough to justify its existence is a question each person answers differently. You could just play Tekken, Dead or Alive, or Mortal Kombat, and tell me your opinions about BattleRaper 2. Till then, watch the disturbing Japanese game series that is shown on your screen.